everybody. I am Madison Holmes.
And I am Macy Holmes.
And you're watching Holmes². And for today's episode...
That sounded very optimistic for something...
that we're talking about.
Really
pretty dark.
I need to stop smiling. I'm sorry. I'm not smiling because of what we're going to be talking about today. I just am smiling at how stupid we're being right now. So today we're going to be actually kind of giving our take on what happened with regards to Charlie Kirk's assassination.
And naturally, it's not going to be anything like what you've already seen. I'm sure people, because everybody's covering it. The mainstream, even alternative media, everybody's talking about it.
And there's a lot of things touched upon
Yeah.
that I would agree with in the sense where it's like not really needing to repeat it. But at the same time, I would give credit to the obvious, which is to me, the fact that you just, killed someone for what it was that their beliefs were and them speaking their views. Like, that's messed up. But I mean, lots of people have been saying this. The thing I liked about Charlie was the fact that, and other people have mentioned as well, where he kind of applied a Socratic method to the way that he debated people. Because I watched a lot of his debates, and I would say I'd give him props to that. And it's unfortunate that that is not something that most people know how to do or even care to, for that matter. But with that, Maddie, we can kind of start going into kind of how this is not necessarily just about Charlie Kirk. Maddie and I kind of wanted to take I don't know if it's 30,000 or 3,000 whenever they make that reference. I'll say 3,000 foot view just to keep myself humble. 30,000 foot view to kind of understand what is this about. So with that, Maddie, you can kind of lead into what it is that was obviously really bothered you and why you wanted to even talk about this in the first place.
Yeah, because personally, guys, we're not, at least me anyway, Charlie Kirk meant nothing to me. Zero zilch. In part, it's not that I was against him. I literally didn't put time into watching or considering what he had to say. And the reason is, some of you guys will already know my family's journey. We started with Jordan Peterson. Okay, we started with the IDW crowd. So the Charlie Kirk types, we were following Louder with Crowder. We were following Ben Shapiro. We followed these people before they, continued the populist movement where they are now. And the thing is, we learned our lessons from those, what would be considered the conservative, freedom-minded people. Like, that's the conservative cultural movement. That's really what it is. That's why people compare Ben Shapiro and Charlie Kirk. And my family realized those types of people, the Candace Owens, the Charlie Kirks, the Jordan Petersons, as a lot of good as they have done, they're not going to take you the mile. They're not going to take you to beyond where their biases and where their ideologies go. And there are ideologies because everybody has them. But things to note about Charlie Kirk, even the technocracy movement, he wanted J.D. Vance to be the next president. J.D. Vance, he liked Elon Musk. And these are technocrats we know to be more nefarious from our outside research. If all you do is follow the conservative cultural movement, not only do you stay within an echo chamber, but then you miss some underlying pinnings. So it wasn't, the reason we're talking about it is not at all because of Charlie Kirk, unless, Macy, you say otherwise, but it was largely because of the reaction that we saw from people and his death. I guess I'll pull up an example.
Yeah, like just my note on that is that when I first saw the video and I first heard of him being killed, I just thought this poor guy's gonna get used for basically like politics. Like, and funny enough, of course, because like he was very enmeshed into politics. Yeah. Politics was his life. Mm-hmm. But I just thought this poor guy's gonna get used. Like people are like, oh, he's a martyr, and that's a great thing. And maybe according to him and how he would see it, like, because he was a follower of Christianity and Jesus Christ was a martyr. So it's like, okay, so maybe he'd be happy with it. His wife seemed to be like, well, look at, he's following in that footsteps, right? But I just thought it was kind of sad because I was like, I think it's going to deeper enmesh a divide. Now, it doesn't mean that the divide was never there, but as me and Maddie will kind of explain the more depths as to why this kind of is unfortunate for us, it's because of where society continues to go. So yes, Maddie, you can pull up your examples.
So naturally, when stuff like this happens, we go to as many sources as we can to get the lay of the land. And then this is Press for Truth, who does a lot of good reporting, relatively shorter videos. I don't agree with everything in this video, but one thing he's really good is compiling compilations like this. Forgive the, especially for women here, if this sets your neuroticism off, because it definitely did mine. But here's just a quick example of the reactions from some of not only women, there's men in here too, but people of like me and Macy's generation, a little bit older.
Breaking news. We think that Charlie Kirk just got shot in the neck. Hey, ooh, ah, ooh.
We got Charlie in the neck. We got Charlie in the neck. Who's up next? We got Charlie in the neck.
Charlie Kirk got shot and he's dead. Finally, somebody with a gun, which is almost everybody in the fucking States, grew a pair and fucking went and shot somebody on the right side. Thank you. Can we keep this up, please?
Fucking stoked right now. You want to know why I'm so fucking stoked? Go ahead and Google Charlie Kirk. Go ahead, read the latest headlines, and you'll see why I'm so fucking yes.
They got him in the neck. Shit whip. Like a fucking samurai film. Oh, good news, everyone. Good news.
Hey, so
And it just keeps going.
Yikes. Yeah, I was going to say, do we have to go through all of that?
No, I don't want to. More women saying, please let it be true. Thank God. And then there's a specific perspective right here that
bad people get what the fuck they deserve.
Breaking news. Charlie Kirk was in the neck.
As of right now, I think his condition is unknown. There are a lot of people that are like, no matter what side of politics you're on, you should never celebrate something bad happening to someone. I, on the other hand, do cheer when bad things happen to bad people. So on behalf of everybody else, I got this shit. We can all celebrate because something really awful happened to a really, really awful guy.
Maddie, I just want to make sure that our audio did pick that up. Like, where did you make sure that you clicked everything needed to? Okay, good. Yeah.
Yeah, so when Dad was playing that in the car, because he listens to it when we're driving to work, and that's personally what convicted me to start this, and then Macy was inclined to agree, because this whole thing, as Macy was saying, this is not about Charlie Kirk. The reaction that you're getting from stuff like this, those, I don't even want to call them women, because I feel like that's a disservice to women. You know, looking at these people, that is depravity. That's like the ultimate turpitude that they are doing. And as my dad used to say, that it's up to women to put other crazy women in their place, just like, you know, usually men put men in their place when they're having a brawl. So my initial conviction was to condemn people doing this. And that's not because the thing is, everybody's got dead people, first of all. And when it comes to this whole violence thing, and this is something that Macy, you can definitely jump in on, because this was one of the things she said, you know, bad things happening to bad people. Why wouldn't you celebrate that? And I know a lot of people can think of at least one person where they'd be like, okay, if this person was dead for whatever reason the following day, they might not be hurt. A lot of people have that person in mind. Mm-hmm. And as a woman, I'm also very well aware of the fact that, you know, we're naturally not prone to physical violence. Like men, physical violence is something that's just always on the under radar, because they always have the threat of needing to fight one another for another woman or protect the woman from whatever threat is out there. So men always have that underpinning of violence. So I'm not going to look at an audience and look at these women and take the position of, oh, violence is never permitted, never allowed. Because the reality is there is violence in the world, and even men operate differently than women. So I can't be as naive to say that there's never a time for violence. Again, the American Revolution didn't happen on roses and petals and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's just the thing that's, and this will tie into the other video that we want to show you guys, because I think it's the most prominent and important one for that's a synonym for our viewers to go watch themselves, actually. But the thing that bothered me was how they put it on social media.
Yep.
A part of me was like, if you think he did terrible things, okay.
Fine.
If you think bad things should deserve to happen to bad people, guess what? Majority of people on the right think the exact same thing.
Yep. Doesn't matter which political
Do we
party.
think they need to be publicly executed? Sometimes we actually do. We'll say, hang them. Like, it literally, if it was someone, I don't want to name names because I'm not going to speak for the entire right movement on who it is that they would have a specific gripe with. But to me, I'm like, the fact that they put it out there on social media celebrating, I just thought, like, this is so bad. Like, to me, I was like, you have no idea how bad that is. Like, I'm like, and I'm laughing because it's almost surreal. It's almost like hysteria laughing, because I'm like, wow, like when you put it out there that you're celebrating that, you know, your guy that you wanted to see dead is dead now, right? It's like you are going to piss off a lot of other different people, and you're also going to just further the divide. And like, that is not a smart thing to do. No. It's like, if someone who liked X person that I have on my list of, I would be, I wouldn't be hurt if I saw them dead the next day, right? If I went out there and started advertising it, I feel like I'd just be a piece of shit as a person, because I'm like, the people that are watching me, because everybody needs to remember that it's like, you started off somewhere. You started off ignorant. You didn't start off knowing everything that you know now. And it's a bit of a reflection moment to kind of go like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, fucking radicalized leftists or not. And there's a big or not in between that. They could be left-leaning in this aspect and right in this. And that's the problem that we don't understand, is there's a lot of common middle ground. And I wouldn't even say we don't, because I'm sure some of you listening are like, oh, no, like, I agree. And blah, blah, blah. It's like, that there's still people, there's still the potential for them to learn. There's still the potential. Like, if anything, to me, the thing that I thought Charlie Kirk, I know it's not about him, but the thing I thought Charlie Kirk at least did a good job representing was dialogue. Was the fact that you can kind of like steel man, maybe straw man, maybe just straight up argue articulately and with a good point, right? With some facts, with some truth, with some common sense, with some Socratic dialogue methoding. I thought that was something where, at the very least, you were kind of calling up for the potential for people's minds to be changed. And he believed in that. And I felt like he wanted to make sure that his method of doing that was not violent. And it was, if I can get my argument right, maybe I can change your mind. Now, I might radicalize some more people, sure, against me, but it just furthers them to either stay enmeshed where they're going to stay enmeshed, which you have relationships in your own household. Politics aside, it's hard to convince them on life decisions that they've made. Maybe you're having arguments on parenting choices. So you're looking at your sister who is, you know, doing whatever, and you're like, man, like, the way she's raising her kids is like, right? It's like, we have arguments all the time, and what me and Maddie would just call the left hemisphere, right? Where someone gets left locked, and sometimes either when you try to convince them otherwise, they just double down, right? Or they might get their mind changed in some regards, right? And so, I mean, I don't know, Maddie, if you want to touch to that before we kind of move into the video, but...
You're touching on the point of this whole thing, is that it's like left, right is utter garbage, and period, because even like you said, I didn't even want to identify these people as left-leaning, because I feel like that's insulting to the left. Like, it is so inappropriate to look at either political party and then paint them as they, and that's one thing Charlie Kirk did do, is that he labeled lefts as, and he generalized them. And even if there's a pattern with some radicals, the reality is, and this is something that we talked about with somebody on our other channel, at Home with Holmes, is that the values that majority of the middle, like our neighbor, whom, even though they may vote entirely differently, and that's actually the video, he said that in the video.
You're transitioning into it really
Yeah,
well. So there was
yes.
this, I don't actually know what the name of his channel is.
I don't know if this is his channel, but his name is Charlie Hughes.
Yeah, so he came out with this, and I think it's, honestly, guys, I would watch it. It's called Has Charlie Kirk's Death Exposed the Biggest PSYOP in History? And then it's on the Rumble channel. Sorry, Maddie. I can't
Real
read
Truth,
that.
Real News.
Yeah. And
it's on a couple others, though.
Yeah, and it's very good because he's trying to paint the picture that it's like, this is how you kind of, like, his initial like shock was the same as ours. He was like, how did you get people to be celebrating a death online publicly of another individual, right?
Yeah, publicly.
Whether they see it as wrong or right, how did you get them to even do this in the first place? We're celebrating each other dying now, right?
Yeah.
It's like publicly. You can celebrate death if you want to, of whatever side you want to, maybe quietly in your own home. I sure as shit am not going to post that shit, but it's like, but he was like, so how did we do that? And what he paints is the PSYOP is now, and even in, well, before I get into that video, I'll continue staying on this one, but it is that idea where it's just like, you create isolation first. You create the idea where you're alone and no one understands you, and so you can't talk to anybody anymore about this thing, right? Because you think that you're the only one, apparently, that you gave yourself some weird superiority complex where you actually think that you held the only authority to understand what it is that's going on in your head, and you don't. And then, but you create the isolation, and that's what's happened in society. COVID was a testament of that for sure. Now that's using an extreme, but it's just been festering the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
You create this isolation, then you create this kind of tribalistic thinking.
Echo chamber.
An echo chamber, right? So you got your rights over there and your lefts over there. Whatever happened to the guys in the middle. And then afterwards, you stir up all of this chaos, right? Because then what happens is you start gravitating towards what emotional kind of area you're feeling about it. And you go towards that, and your group goes towards that, and the other group's going to go this way, right? And it's just more tribalism, more divide. And then afterwards, we already know it's a problem, reaction, solution, the Hegelian dialectic, right? And then it was Seth Holhouse, I think, he did a video, and you can also kind of show that, and it was called Charlie Kirk's Assassination, an Urgent Warning for America. And what resonated in this is he, like the previous video, they both paint out a 3-step process kind of the PSYOP that's being created. Because to Seth, and this has been akin to almost like a Charlie Kirk's death being a JFK 2.0, right? And do I think he was JFK? No. But do I think that the way that in which they went about it to psychologically traumatize an entire nation, right? And then you got all these political figures, like even Donald Trump giving a freaking speech about this, right? It's like you have this whole nation psychologically tormented. The video of him dying just keeps on getting replayed. All of his videos are out there. They're just keep perpetuating the freaking trauma in your mind. And granted, it is traumatic. I'm not saying it's not. I'm just pointing out what it is that they're doing, because if they psychologically mass manipulate us, how do you think they do it, right? Emotions. So, and it sucks. This is what I said. Like when I saw him die, I said he's going to get used, right? And then consequently, for what? To use us, right?
Well, yeah, because so we start this video by criticizing people, the individuals there that are celebrating his death. But the thing is that you're pointing out right now is, so we criticize the supposed left, but the right deserves just as much criticizing, because they can take this and make a crusade out of it. And the crusades, most of the time, they're not a good thing, okay? Because using religion to bash people's, if you take the Bible and beat people over the head with it, it's not righteous. There's nothing righteous about that, but that is what they're going to use him as.
And granted, this isn't without lacking the context. Like I've been saying, obviously I compared it to the George Floyd kind of situation where I thought George Floyd to me felt like a traumatizing event for the left a little bit, in the sense where it's like it gave them an excuse to get angry. Granted, I just think that was the tipping point. It's no different. It's like, it's funny because it's like, even in the video that we mentioned with that, what's his name again? Sorry.
Charles Hughes?
Charles Hughes. Just confirming. Hold on.
Yeah, Chase Hughes.
Chase Hughes. In that video with Chase Hughes, everyone is going through a hard time economically, right? And then obviously socially things are getting divided. And it's sad actually, because even watching some of the videos that Charlie put out and some of the debates he had and some of the university students that were kind of going like, what makes you think that university is a sham, right? Like, and then he would ask them, well, what are you majoring in? And then they'd say economics. And he's like, do you know who Milton Friedman is? And they go like, who's that? Right? It's like, the thing that's sad is also like, these kids are still victims of a bad system, right? So it's like all of us have had, like, we ate bad, or so like at one point in our life we knew health-wise, right? We were eating bad because we were victims of a bad system. They try to tell you that if you wanted to diet, you go low on fat, you go low cholesterol, you do all like diet Pepsi, right? It's like, no, like so it's just, there's so much that individuals are going through where the psyops are obviously really bad, but we all were and are victims of them. Right? And so even in that video with Chase Hughes, he's trying to say that it's like, you have more in common to the person who voted differently than you do to the freaking political figure, Donald Trump, whoever, standing on their soapbox and saying, I represent you, the people. It's like, he's like, you have more in common actually than, I guess, that leftist, I'm doing quotation marks for those only listening, than you do to actually the person that you think is trying to convince you that you have in common with, right?
Yeah, we should really, I'm going to hop on your bandwagon here and continue the emphasis, because even the people, like these individuals, all these women who are criticizing and praying and celebrating to the Lord that, justice has been brought to Charlie Kirk. As upsetting as it is, Macy's right. They too are victims. And why? Because of what Chase Hughes points out. We call it the left hemisphere, but he breaks it down a bit more reductionistically because he's a psyops expert. And he breaks it down into the 3 steps Macy alluded to: the isolation, the echo chamber, and then the tribal scripts, the rhetoric, the us versus them, the left versus right, the myth and the narrative to then push all of the indignation that you've created. And the funny thing is that I just finished, me and Macy are going to do a presentation at some point on kind of MK Ultra and how that has played onto society, specifically with the hemisphere works, because people don't add that enough, and we have that little lever that people don't. But so I read Chaos, which is on the Manson families and all that jazz, and it was they were 1 degree of separation and being studied on by CIA, MK Ultra doctors and associates. It is absolutely a fact. With that being the case, some of the things that these doctors were studying, and then in tune, it literally mapped onto Manson's in the family. They studied how violent behavior can be induced in people via isolation alone. All it takes is isolation before you add the drugs and then the moral narrative and the righteous stories before the myths come in. Just isolation alone, and we're in a digital era. So people like the Mansons that did these horrible murders, and then these people that are advocating that is seriously violent behavior, and then you even get news anchors that are saying, oh, I just wish I could strangle this person. This violent culture that is being breeded is because of the military psyops that are being done to us by the higher ups and all of these other stupid think tanks. And this is really important to keep in mind, because when the right and the left, because politics has been created this way and bred this way, we start pointing at one another, the real person is standing back there, and all of us should
laughing.
Yeah, and they're laughing.
Well, and this is something that really hit home when we did our last. So we just recently did our chapter 12 book study for Master and His Emissary. And Kyle said something that just to me struck so hard. And he was talking about how when you're watching schizophrenic patients in the kind of like the psych ward or in the hospitals, and you're watching these mentally ill individuals, it's like they've lost their capacity to trust other people. And like may in fact not trust themselves, obviously. I mean, there's definitely a tear there. But that's consequence, like the self is not just yourself, right? So it's like if you don't trust yourself, there also might be a problem with you trusting other people and vice versa. And so he said that it's like because there is no more trust in general, they kind of leave themselves with no choice but to just figure out how can they grab and take as much as they can that's theirs in a world where they feel like nothing makes sense and nothing belongs to them. And so he says that like sometimes they'll hoard things, right? Because it's literally them taking any piece that they can get. We know left hemisphere working with the bits, any piece it can get to try and understand what the hell is going on and make it its own, because there's no trust anymore. There's nothing. And to me, I just felt like it was such a caring and also heartbreaking way of putting the statement, because that's how I feel with some of the people that are, I guess, going down the transgender movement, and some of the people that we're seeing where it's like when we are thinking of wokeism, that doesn't mean leftism entirely.
No.
But when we're thinking of the wokest kind of apocalypse, I feel bad for these people because of the fact that it's like there's no trust anymore. And that's so sad. And to me, I'm like, we don't want to keep propagating that. Hence why Charlie wasn't trying to keep propagating that. He was trying to have conversations, right? And then, so that was kind of the overall, where it's just like these are, you have to, I mean, I want to stick with the fact that it's like, I don't want to promote the delusion, right? But how do you ever talk to someone who's mentally struggling? You don't say, no, it's not real. Like, to them, it's very fucking real, right? You try and kind of go like, okay, talk to me. Tell me what's going on. Oh, okay. And then you inch your way. You try to, okay, so, well, like Charlie, present the kind of the present them with the paradox, those questions.
Even Charlie, though, still, like, and I called this the conservative cultural movement for a reason, because he did the same tactics as Louder with Crowder, which, again, these people are still worth watching. I'm not going to downgrade, continue watching them. They're entertaining as hell. But even Charlie, there was an individual who identified as, her name was Mercury, or their name, whatever, and she was asking him, why are you here? Like, why are you even on a university campus trying to talk to us? Like, why are you here? He's like, I get that question all the time. And he's like, it shouldn't even have to be asked. I'm trying to promote dialogue and having good ideas, which is like what he was known for, which is fantastic. And he's like, if we stop having dialogue, even Martin Luther King said this, if we don't have dialogue, it moves to violence. Violence replaces dialogue. Once that happens, societies crumble. Martin Luther King said that as such, and hence why they killed him. So he was making great points, and this person went, well, what about emotional violence? And he's like, okay, what is that? And that's a very real thing. The threat of being uncomfortable and offending people, I guess you could call that emotional violence. That's probably what they were referring to.
I was going to say, like, most parents actually pay attention to that for their own children, or actually sometimes don't. So if anything, what they said is not entirely incorrect. There is such a fucking thing.
That's what I'm saying.
Not violence physically, but you can psychologically torment a person to the point where they just self-doubt themselves. But you know what his turn schizo.
But you know what his response was? I don't care about feelings. I care about facts. That stupid Ben Shapiro thing. And it's funny and it's catchy, and all of us who are trying to do the empirical look at the science and all be objective. But the reality is nobody disembodies. The funny thing is that you saying I don't care about feelings, you are a feeling person. And why would you even go to these universities if you did not have a care? And supposedly there's a line that he's known for, which is like, empathy is dangerous in today's society. And of course he's referring to the people overemphasize their feelings, and now feelings are everything, and that is a problem. But contrary, not acknowledging
you
feelings.
Shouldn't go to the extreme.
You shouldn't go to the extreme, which is what the conservatives also tend to do, because then they got on their soapbox about being objective and imperial and only looking at the facts and being very rationalistic in their thinking. And now they are also furthering the divide that way. And so even this person, you probably could have made more grounds if you were like, I am willing to risk not only offending you, causing this supposed emotional violence, I am putting myself at emotionally a vulnerable state because it is uncomfortable for me to have these conversations. Like, you'd make more grounds even doing that, though, and acknowledging at least portion, because again, they're not, like you said, this person, even though they're mentally ill and they're going through some things in their brain and they don't know how to reconcile all these things, they're not insane. They're not stupid, you know?
Well, yeah, like, it's funny. We just finished watching a movie, and I think it was called 55 Steps.
Right.
And to me, when you watch that film, you watch how the whole premise is that, I mean, so for the nudges of COVID, if you watch that film, you'll actually understand why COVID worked, because they used the guise of an emergency, right? But when you watch it in terms of how to just the tragedy of not taking into account the psych patient's choice when they do in fact have a choice, right? Or at least they should. And then the abuse that comes with that, right? It's like when I watch that, it's like, in the case of an emergency, yes, then they can't make their own decisions, so therefore you should medicate them with whatever it is that you choose to, because they clearly are in an emergency state and they can't choose for themselves, right? Unfortunately, that's what we believed in for COVID, right? But in the film, they were like, but when it's not an emergency and when they do have some capacity to make a decision, to understand what's going on with their body. And of course, in the film, they say that unfortunately, even the effects of the medication made the doctors think that their conditions were getting worse, even though it was actually the medications themselves that was making the patients worse, right? It's the same thing with these people that I guess are maybe what you would consider radicalized, but maybe there's some who are, but the ones that are very, like, a lot of the ones that are actually just in the middle of this bullshit, again, because we all know it's fucking a psyop, they still have mental capacity to choose their fucking prescriptions, right? Like, we can't force shit down their throats. We shouldn't do that. They have the choice, right? And so that's what it reminded me, what you were just saying, Matt, where it's just,
yeah.
Oh, sorry. Did you want to elaborate on it?
No, you're hitting it home, and we should call it here. I know you and I could rant a lot more on this, because it just, the biggest thing is the fact that what Chase Hughes, one of the lines that he said, which kind of encompasses this whole thing, he said, corruption is a biparty or bipartisan. Non-partisan, to me it's bi non-partisan. it's a bi non-partisan issue. We would just say the left hemisphere, because the left hemisphere is in every individual. And what do all political parties have? People. What's in their brain? A left hemisphere. So corruption or this insanity, unreasonability, all of that, the left hemisphere unchecked is on both sides. So looking at something like this with a Charlie Kirk event, the people that are celebrating, they're wrong. And the people that are going to use him as a martyr and say, look at this, now we can start our crusade, they're wrong. And there's a lot of nuance. And we haven't even talked about the potential of, okay, who actually killed him? Because was it the transgender movement that's being claimed? There's a lot of speculation on that too. But people are going to jump to so many conclusions so quick because they feel morally indignant, which there's a lot of that going around, because like you said, a lot of people are hurting right now. But it's not justified.
Yeah, and luckily, like, we've been seeing that it's true. I've seen the memes where it's like George Floyd, within 24 hours, there's riots and blah, blah, blah. Again, we already know some paid actors, again, psyops, going through some various turmoil that you're going through, but clearly they just don't know how to fucking deal with it. And we've all had those moments where sometimes we lose our fucking tempers, right? That's grand scale. It sucks. I've been seeing the fact that it's like within 24 hours, we're doing prayer circles and we're not getting violent. And I'm like, that's props to that. Like, that's kind of That's a good thing. Like, I would still further encourage that, because like Maddie's like, we don't want crusades. So far, I'm not seeing any right now. So that's good, right? But we definitely want to make sure we don't, because even in the Seth Holehouse one, it was like the JFK thing kept on getting played over and over and over again, right? And now this is the same thing for Gen Z. Like, he was very prominent among young conservatives and such, right? And so it's just, we don't want civil war, because we know already who profits from it. It was I think it was Mike Adams that came from like the Health Ranger report, and he was coming out, he was like, they lied to us about JFK, they lied to us about 9/11, they lied to us about, hell, maybe even MK Ultra. Like, they lie. And so the federal, like the FBI is going to come out with whatever statements they're going to come out with in terms of how things happened and who did it. Even the fact that we're taking this transgender person at face value from the freaking FBI. I'm like, bro,
Right.
guys, like,
There's
going to be a lot of people who have always been lying to you, saying one thing. And if it sounds appealing to you because you're hurt and you have every reason to be, those people who hurt you also have reasons to be hurt. Not because you should say, well, not because of me. No, because of the system we're in. That's why.
Yeah, and they're going to count on you not thinking further, because even something as simple as, okay, who killed them? It's actually not simple, because we watched a couple podcasts even with the Joaquin Flores's, and talking about, well, near the end, he was also starting to question the radical right of Israel, the Mossad types. It's like, well, what if they were involved? Because he was talking about that with Megyn Kelly. So it's like, these are things you got to consider. And so instead of just writing it off as whatever narrative myth they want to give you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
yeah,
that's the consideration.
Remember the Hegelian dialectic? I guess remember that the best weapon they have is just
you
divide us.
It's you.
It's
your brain.
You. Yeah. So, okay. I mean, well, I guess thank you guys so much for watching
and thinking it through with us.
Because
that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah. And so without further ado, this has been
Holmes².